You're watching Fox 10, KSAZ Phoenix. It's 9 o'clock. Time for Arizona Prime News.
2 days ago, a sex scandal rocked the state prison in Florence. Tonight, you'll hear from a woman who works there and says she has seen it all.
A 25-year-old woman and an undercover cop infiltrates a local high school and comes up with more than a dozen arrests. We'll meet the officer and hear from her live what it was like to go back to high school undercover.
If you're like most people, you'll probably spend a good part of Thanksgiving Day enjoying a fattening feast. But a new survey finds a lot of people aren't eating too healthy the rest of the year either.
Bank on it. Snow on the ground means booming business for people in the high country.
What's it like to be on the set of Party of Five? Believe it or not, it's not all fun and games.
John Hook, Robin Garrison, Dave Muncie's weather, and Jude LaCava's sports. From Fox 10 News, this is Arizona Prime News.
She works at the state prison in Florence and claims to have seen it all. Good evening, everybody. I'm John Hook.
And I'm Robin Garrison. Thanks for joining us tonight on Arizona Prime News. It's a story that rocked the state prison in Florence earlier this week. 16 officers out of their jobs after a hazing and sexual harassment scandal. The investigation found several workers on the graveyard shift making phone calls to each other, calling each other sexual names. In another instance, 2 officers had sex in one of the prison guard towers. 11 guards were fired, 5 of them quit, and 8 others received some lesser punishments.
And Robin, tonight in a Fox 10 News exclusive, we hear from a woman who works at the state prison in Florence. As Bruce Dunbar found out, this prison officer claims to have seen the sexual activity there firsthand.
Was hired to be a prison guard, but that's not the way some of her colleagues defined her role behind the walls at Florence.
You're there for sexual gratification of male officers. That was more or less your purpose.
The harassment started with obscene phone calls at her workstation.
And they did this with all the females, see if they could break them down, see which ones they could have sex with, see which ones could be in the little club.
The problem was worst on the graveyard shift and the maximum security wing.
They would steal the pornography from the inmates. They would read it, become sexually aroused, and then whatever female was around was open season.
Female officers who refused to submit were threatened.
It was an intimidation kind of thing. Play along, or, we'll get you won't be here, you won't have a job.
Those who played along did so anywhere that was convenient.
They were having sex in the cells, in this high caution area, next to inmates that were either child molesters, murderers, or rapists.
Women like this one wanted to blow the whistle, but were afraid.
I went to the academy, I tested just like they did. I have every right to be here, and why am I letting this go on? And you let it go on because you are afraid of losing your job.
She says command officers knew about what was going on, but looked the other way.
The mentality is nobody ever gets fired from DOC unless they kill somebody.
In fact, she says over the past couple of days, officers have been ordered not to talk to the media about the scandal.
It's more or less the feeling that if you speak, you will be fired. So it's a cover-up.
Worst of all, she says the years of on-the-job sexual harassment have taken a heavy toll on her personal life.
So you go home to your husband, it's like another man, and there's no feeling there. It's dead.
In Florence, Bruce Dunbar, Arizona Prime News.
This female officer goes on to say that there was great on-the-job fear of retribution for refusing to submit to sexual advances. She says some male officers threatened not to provide backup if there was ever trouble in the cell block. She says they told women, if you don't put out, you're on your own.
A rookie cop goes deep undercover to expose a high school drug ring, and now 11 students and 6 adults are feeling the sting. That was the woman, 25-year-old Andrea Cook. Spent 2 months posing as a Chandler High School student. Her assignment was to find out who was buying and selling the drugs there. Andrea did her homework and uncovered enough evidence to accuse 17 people of selling, furnishing, or possessing marijuana. Chandler police arrested several of them this morning. Andrea says the assignment was one tall order.
For the first couple of weeks, it was a little bit difficult to get back into the role of being a teenager, but after a couple of weeks, I was able to fit in a little bit easier.
Well, what is it like to be 25 years old and try to be a high school student all over again? In our next half hour, we'll talk live with Andrea Cook and hear her tale as an undercover narc.
Fire races through a Tempe health club, causing about $2 million in damage. LA Fitness near Priest and Elliott went up in flames last night. 6 engines doused the fire, but the fire spread quickly across the entire rooftop. Incredibly, the fire smoldered for several hours before anybody noticed. The mother of Governor Fife Symington dies after a long illness. Martha Frick Symington passed away yesterday in Scottsdale. She was 79 years old. Mrs. Symington had been in poor health since suffering a stroke 3 years ago. Funeral services will be held in Pittsburgh.
For friends and family, the memory of a 16-year-old boy gunned down by police still stings. Today, in the name of change, hundreds of cars cruised down Central and Washington in a procession for peace. Demonstrators say they want visible changes in police policy, and they want an official stance against trigger-happy officers. They say this kind of foresight could have saved Julio Valerio. And just a couple of blocks down the road, a rally for the people wearing the badges. Hundreds gathered there at police headquarters in a show of support for law enforcement officers. Demonstrators say the officers involved in the Valerio case did the right thing under the circumstances. At first, police feared there might be a confrontation between the two groups of demonstrators, but all was quiet.
The civil trial is on hold for O.J. Simpson for the holidays, but Simpson finds himself back in another courtroom. The former football star arriving this morning for his child custody trial. He missed 3 days of it while testifying in his civil case. Newly released cell phone transcripts shed some light on Simpson's state of mind during the infamous slow-speed Bronco Chase 2.5 years ago. Simpson had a gun, but says he didn't plan on hurting anyone but himself. He told police, quote, "I'm the only one that deserves it." Detective Tom Lang may have actually saved Simpson's life, repeatedly telling the former football star that everything would work out. It was a close call for 2 pilots on a National Guard training mission.
Their F16 fighter plane crashes in a remote section of Ohio. Fortunately, both of the pilots were able to eject safely. They walked to a nearby farmhouse to report the accident. No word yet on what caused the plane to go down.
Thousands of people in the Northwest could face a cold, dark Thanksgiving. 15,000 homes in Washington and Idaho are without power tonight. A round of freezing rain and ice sent trees crashing into power lines, and it could be after Thanksgiving before things are back to normal.
A young American accused of spying by North Korea is back in America. Evan Carl Hunziker was released last night. He had little to say, but says that he was treated very humanely during his 3 months in custody. Hunziker went to North Korea as a Christian missionary.
The first family back home for the holidays. Mr. and Mrs. Clinton arrived back from a 2-week trip to Hawaii, Australia, and Asia.
And after a quick rest, the president received a gobbler from the National Turkey Foundation in the Rose Garden. The Clintons plan to spend the holiday at the Camp David Presidential Retreat.
Forget the turkey. It's a pot-bellied pig that caused a porker of a problem in Florida. Harry the pig, though, finally back home, and the kids in the neighborhood love it. After being on the loose for several days, school kids even drew pictures of the pig to help people in the area spot him if they ever saw him out there. But this hog-wild tale had a happy ending after a man who lives nearby found Harry and returned him right where he belongs.
Have you ever seen one of those? Those things drool.
He's lucky. Harry's lucky he didn't end up
nasty.
some type of side dish tomorrow. They're lucky they found him in time.
Ew.
It's a happy ending.
Well, they're just like family on the Fox hit show Party of Five.
All the way down to the sibling rivalries. It's pretty lifelike. We're going to go backstage a little later.
Side dish?
Plus, in the Hollywood Prime Spotlight, music television will once again live up to its name. This might be the next queen of the talk show circuit. But first,
these days, a lot of people claim they're really into nutrition. They're really eating healthy. But be honest, what do you really eat? I'm Steve Krafft, and I will fill your plate with the facts coming up on Arizona Prime News.
I'm Terry McSweeney, and you're stopped at an intersection. Then all of a sudden, I wonder if you can give me a jump. Oh, we don't even have any cables. Why don't you get out of the car? What are you doing? Get out of the car!
Protect yourself.
In tonight's Protect Yourself report, how to keep from being carjacked and what to do if the carjackers take you as well. Plus, in tonight's special assignment, some unusual gift ideas to make your holiday shopping a little easier. Watch Fox 10 News tonight at 10.
Welcome back. America talks thin, but apparently we eat pretty fat. For the 4th year in a row, good-for-you foods are slipping, and restaurant junk food, that's going through the roof.
Yes.
Steve Krafft has more on why people may be ignoring nutritionists' advice just in time for Thanksgiving. Steve, can I offer you a ring ding?
I'll take one right now. People always talk about eating healthy, you know, but it seems like you can't go to the grocery store without buying something with a big old nutrition label on it. Now, if that's the case, then why are the 3 fastest growing foods in America hamburgers, French fries, and chicken nuggets? Could it be we're tired of all the good advice? Let's face it, going to the supermarket, any supermarket, is tough. You know what's good for you, but as you roll up and down the aisles, you're always tempted by things you know you probably shouldn't eat. Like bacon. Everybody knows it's loaded with fat, but it's good. Or cookies from the store bakery. Or goodies from the deli. Nutritionists tell us to stay away. But a lot of folks aren't taking their advice, like Louise Riley.
There's my list. Coffee cake, cheese ball, bread, lettuce, and stir fry.
All right, now the coffee cake or the cheese ball you're going to buy, are they going to be low-fat versions of those products?
Are they? They're going to be coffee cakes.
You like buying those low-fat type ones?
Not really. That's why I'm so fat.
Get out of here. Lots of people feel the same way about all the healthful stuff. Do you like to buy a lot of low-fat type foods?
No, I should, but I don't like to, and I don't.
Why?
Because I don't like them.
Do you buy Snackwell cookies as a low-fat or fat-free alternative to the regular kind? You know, a lot of people really got into these when they came out about 4 years ago. But did you know in the last year, Snackwell sales have slumped about 20%, and the same things happen to a lot of other low-fat foods, too. Some people love to make healthy choices, but lots of people still don't.
That's true. That's pretty inexplainable, to tell you the truth. I'm not sure why people are more interested. I think that they're educated and they know that the hamburgers increase their risk for heart disease and things like that, but they still seem to be choosing it. Maybe it's a rebellion against all the things we've heard of.
Produce has its place, but give me my grease. McNugget mania indeed. Of course, there's nothing wrong with a little fast food here and there, as long as you don't eat it all the time. And of course, there are alternatives, like roasted chicken instead of fried. The question is, are you ready to make the switch? Well, some people have made the switch. About a third of the population, Robin, has made the switch and is eating a lot of low-fat, low-sodium type foods. But it's been stuck on that third of the population for 3-4 years now, and it's not changing.
Steve, why are you guilt-tripping us with this stuff the night before Thanksgiving? I want to pig out tomorrow, but I guess I shouldn't.
It must be my magnificent sense of timing.
Yes, thank you so much. Now, for those who are healthfully inclined, what would you suggest for tomorrow?
Well, don't look at me. I mean, I'm certainly no role model for this. I'm not a role model. However, I can make a couple suggestions that I learned today. First one is eat slowly. If you eat a little bit more slowly, deliberately, probably won't eat as much, number one. Number two, mix in a few vegetables with the turkey and fixins. And number three, I'm not saying go and work out or run a marathon, but a little exercise here and there will make you feel a lot better on Thanksgiving.
I got one more for you. Eat with your kids. They won't give you a second to eat yourself because you'll be jumping up and down getting them stuff.
There's a good one.
Thanks, Steve.
You bet.
Happy Thanksgiving
Same.
tomorrow. Still to come on Arizona Prime News, a fab anniversary for this band. We'll tell you why later. But first, snow on the ground is music to some people's ears up north. Arizona Prime News will be right back.
On Fox 10 News tonight at 10. Nighttime. An empty intersection. A stranger asks for help. What do?
Protect yourself.
You don't have to be vulnerable. If you know what to do ahead of time, you can survive. I'm Robin Garrison. You can stop a carjacker on Fox 10 News. Tonight at 10, I'll show you how to protect yourself against carjacking.
Protect yourself.
On Fox 10 News tonight at 10.
Hi everybody, big changes coming for Arizona. Dave Muncy with you. Welcome to your first look at prime weather. This is the system right in here. Low pressure, cold front, already bringing ice, snow, wind, lots of problems to the northwest. And we are going to be experiencing some of those problems right along with those people. It's going to take about a day to get down here. As you can see, it's quite well organized, got a lot of rotation in there, and it is going to be dropping southward. There you go with our 72 for a high today, 59 the morning low. Normals at 70 and 45, record high for the day 86, record low 31 degrees. Currently 64 degrees, 31% on the humidity, dew point temperature at 33. Wind picking up a little bit out of the northeast at 12, rising barometer 30.06. And as we get a look around here, well, a few clouds still floating around the state of Arizona. We saw them today, and some of them had a little rain with them. We picked up a trace at the airport and some light showers all around. Let's take a look. Yeah, the Gulf still has plenty of moisture, supplying it into Texas, supplying it into Florida, where they had some scattered showers, and real cold air already filtering into portions of the plain states all across North Dakota and Minnesota. That continues, not as cold as it has been. And then, of course, all the moisture has found its way over into the northeast today, where they had from 4 to 14 inches of snow on the ground, most of it in the Snowbelt, a couple of inches in Boston, and a couple of inches in the surrounding areas as well. So nasty day up there, but you can see things have dried themselves out. We are starting to pick up a little snow off of a new weak system that's pushing up into the Great Lakes. Here's that moisture down through the Gulf that we were talking about, and here's that storm system that's going to have an effect on us within the next 48-hour period. We're going to get a little break as we head into the holiday here, but other than that, after that, we're going to see some real changes. Here are our temperature highs on the day, even somewhat nice across areas of the north, where we did see a little bit of snow. Most of it was around Flagstaff rather than in Flagstaff today, and they're going to be looking at about 3 to 5 inches of snow over in the White Mountains, and also down through the southeastern mountains. If you're heading down there, by Friday we could be looking at a few problems as well. And we got partly cloudy skies tonight. We'll have a low of 52 degrees, and then for tomorrow you can see these little sprinkles of rain we put in the forecast. It'll be partly cloudy through most of the day. The high is going to be about 74 degrees, and then later in the evening, when that storm system starts working its way in here, we could start seeing the problems with the moisture at this time. Here's your 5-day planner. Look at that big temperature drop we take after that system moves in here, from 74 to 59 degrees. And then, of course, for all of you wondering about what's going on around the country, there you go for Thanksgiving. This is the way things are going to be stacking up. You see that low pressure system as it is working its way down in this direction, and that's the low for tomorrow that you can see very, very close to us with that cold air trailing right behind. Big parade in New York, cold but clear. They've had some rainy days there, so
we're in pretty good shape here, Dave.
We're not looking too bad. We're in between systems, and that's going to work very nicely for us.
All right, Dave.
Good deal.
Okay, have a nice Thanksgiving.
You too.
You too, David. Well, 2 hours north of Phoenix, there is snow on the ground. Did we see that on the map? We saw that on the map.
It's on the map.
David showed it
Dave's
to
always on the spot.
It's right on top of this stuff.
Johnny on the spot over there.
Flagstaff area. It's already been hit a couple of times, and that means the Arizona Snowbowl might be open soon.
Let's hope. As Jim Schnebelt reports tonight, snowflakes in Flagstaff are like pennies from heaven.
The weather is wintry in northern Arizona. A series of snowstorms hit the area, and even though the chairlifts at Snowbowl aren't running yet, a few diehards are already skiing.
Well, I just moved to Flagstaff from Maine, and it's my first chance to get out there.
What are you doing out here?
Avoiding writing my thesis, actually. I'm a graduate student at NAU, and you got to take the snow when you can get it, I guess.
Up here on the Snowbowl, it's cold, windy, and there's about 2 feet of fresh powder on the ground. It seems as though that's about as much snow as Snowbowl received all of last winter, and this is only November. Can I buy your hat from you?
How much?
20 bucks.
Okay.
It's a deal?
Yeah.
Nearby in Flagstaff, others are spending their money too. The winter economy here depends on snow to attract tourists.
The snow brings in business, brings in people. They bring in their families to play in the snow, to ski, to sled. So it helps the economy.
The snow is excellent for not only just local business or business here at Mountain Sports, but also for the town of Flagstaff. Snow always brings a lot of tourism to this town, which is basically what this economy feeds on. Last year was one of the driest years in history, and definitely to have an early snowfall, it builds a lot of excitement.
Love it. It's long overdue.
And eagerly awaited. In Flagstaff, Jim Schnebelt, Arizona Prime News.
Okay, the bad news is Snowbowl will not open this week, but should be open at the latest by December 15th. Last year, you may remember, ski resorts That one didn't open for a long time,
boy.
was closed most of the year because of a lack of snow.
That's right. That was the pits. We were there in the middle of winter, and there were little drifts here and there, but that was it.
Let's hope they get it this year, make up for it.
Well, teenage hearts breaking all over the country tonight.
A little later, we're going to tell you about the latest heartthrob tying the knot.
And it's not John. And the talk show circuit may be getting some royal treatment. We'll tell you who's slated for her own show. But first, we go one-on-one with a rookie cop who went undercover to expose a high school drug ring. Arizona Prime News will be right back. Welcome back. A high-speed chase between police and a bank robber turned sour.
That story tops tonight's Look at the World in Prime. A suspect dubbed the Polo Shirt Bandit shoots himself in the head after a high-speed chase with police. The man suspected of robbing more than 36 banks over the past 7 years. With Houston police in hot pursuit, he crashed into another car at an intersection. As officers approached, he fired. Bank surveillance cameras show the suspect wearing the same disguise over and over: a fake beard, dark glasses, a baseball hat, and a wig. He is in critical condition.
Over 100,000 people take to the streets of Belgrade to protest a bold move by the Yugoslavian president. He annulled his opponent's election victory and called for a rerun, claiming irregularities in the ballot tally. Protesters threw rocks and bricks at media outlets loyal to the president, shattering several windows.
Mother Teresa remains in a Calcutta heart clinic, but doctors say she's too weak to undergo an invasive X-ray originally scheduled for today. The X-ray was supposed to have determined whether or not heart surgery was necessary. At first, the nun refused to undergo any type of procedure.
Today is the first day we have been able to convince her that it is essential, probably, that this investigation is done.
The Rwandan government refuses to allow a multinational force to intervene in Zaire. Despite the fact that hundreds of thousands of refugees continue to return home, the government vetoed the use of Rwandan territory for relief operations. The UN authorized a Canadian-led relief effort, but so far there has been no agreement among the nations who are going to participate.
Prison food leaves a lot to be desired, especially on Thanksgiving. But this year, a New York businessman is giving a couple of inmates a lot to be thankful for. He's bailing them out for Thanksgiving, and they couldn't be happier.
I said I wasn't home last Thanksgiving. I said maybe I ain't gonna be home this Thanksgiving. So I'm happy to be going home for Thanksgiving. I appreciate you very much.
And this may sound a little redundant, but the circus is coming to LA.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls.
The Universal Big Top is no ordinary circus, though. Nearly all of the performers are African Americans, and the acts take on an urban inner-city theme. Ringmaster Casual Cal says the Big Top has a responsibility to do more than just entertain.
I feel like a preacher having a tabernacle, and I can use what preachers don't use, like slang words and run around and shake and smile.
This spring, the Universal Big Top embarks on a nationwide tour.
We talked about this earlier on the newscast. More than a dozen Valley teens busted by an undercover cop on drug charges. But this was no ordinary cop. She was 25-year-old Andrea Cook, who posed as a fellow high school student. And other kids at the school in Chandler had no idea.
She'd always come to school with stories and stuff like that, like about her personal life, and everybody just thought she was just new.
Officer Andrea Cook joins us live tonight. Andrea, thanks for being with us.
Thank you.
How in the world did you pull this off? We've got some videotape of you, not in your uniform, but with the kids at school, and it's pretty astonishing. You blended in quite well.
Yeah, it was a little bit difficult at first, getting into the groove of things, but I just, you know, the different clothes I wore, the way I wore my hair, and no makeup, things like that, allowed me to kind of blend in with the students and get to know them a little bit.
Did anybody question you? Did anybody ever come close to outing you in this situation?
Yeah, actually, I got questioned several times throughout the 2 months I was in there.
Did they know much about you, and what story had you concocted about your family and how you ended up there in the first place?
I was a transfer student from Paradise Valley.
To Chandler High School.
Right, and the story was that I had gotten in trouble and moved over to Chandler to live with my sister-in-law to get away from the trouble I was in. Other than that, they really didn't know too much about me other than I supposedly worked in Phoenix and had a boyfriend, that type of thing that I would be able to leave school to, so I didn't have much of a personal life with these students after school.
What about if they ever wanted to call you? Was it just off limits?
They had a pager number of mine.
It's a changing world.
Yeah.
What about, I mean, you had to mix it up with these kids. Were there ever instances, I mean, this is getting a little dicey, but did the boys ask you out?
There were a couple guys that I heard were showing an interest in me.
How would you handle it?
Well, actually, they didn't come up front to me and say anything. It was just kind of through the grapevine. And to be honest with you, I was a little bit surprised at that, the way I looked at school.
You know, that gets into my next question. I mean, it's been 10 years or more since you've been to high school. How has it changed as you look at it now? Is high school the same as you remember it, or has it changed a lot?
To be honest with you, it's pretty much the same as I remember. Bored in the classes type thing. No, it is. It's a lot of the same thing that I saw when I was in high school.
Now, presumably tonight, some of these students that you mingled with for a couple of months are looking at you now in your uniform, and they've got to feel, for lack of a better word, maybe a high school word, that you narked on them.
Yeah, that's true.
Literally.
Yeah, that's true. There's a few of them that aren't too happy with me, and they showed that this morning with a few choice words that they yelled at me. So
how do you feel about that? Is there a part of you that says some of this maybe is a little bit unseemly?
No, I do think it's totally justified, and I think that you know, we're in there to try and do a good job and to try and...
You're watching Fox 10, KSAZ Phoenix.